It was a sad time in the Okoha family, as they have just lost their father, Mr. Okoha. Mr. Okoha, who was a very wealthy businessman, has just 2 children, Zena the older daughter and Zoin the youngest. Zoin works in his father's company and is part of the management staff. She is married and her husband Nelson is also doing well in his business. Zoin and Nelson only have 1 child, a beautiful 14-year-old daughter named Anina. While her older sister Zena is a spoiled brat, who only enjoyed his father's wealth and did nothing to support the family business. Zena is married to Mr. Chuka and they have 2 kids together, a boy and a girl. Mr. Chuka was jobless for a while before Zena's father Mr. Okoha employed him and gave him a position in his company so that he can be able to provide for his family. But still, Zena receives salary every month from her father's company for just being a daughter of Mr. Okoha, while she sits at home, or travel for one vacation or the other and spends money to spoil herself. 3 days after Mr. Okoha's burial, the reading of his will was done in Mr. Okoha's mansion. Their family lawyer, Mr. Smith, owns a very reputable law firm in the country, and his firm have been handling the Okoha's family company for over 40 years. In the will, it turned out that Mr. Okoha left all the assets and company to Zoin, his youngest daughter, but with the stipulation that Zena's husband will continue working and earning as he is already doing, and Zena will continue to receive her monthly salary for doing nothing. But the mansion will go to Zena as she is the eldest child, and the rest of Mr. Okoha's properties scattered all over the country will go to the youngest daughter Zoin, who he believes will be able to manage his wealth properly. Zena and her husband were not happy. They were so mad by the outcome of the will that they stormed out of the house. 3 months later, Zena and her husband Chuka invited Zoin and her husband Nelson for them to have a private discussion to find a way forward. As they met in a restaurant, Zena said she wants her husband to be placed as the manager of the company while Zoin remained the CEO of the company, and she also wants 30% of all the revenue that comes into the company, as the first daughter of Mr. Okoha. But Zoin disagreed, and after 2 hours of discussion, they could not come to an agreement. It was beginning to turn into a fight, so Zoin and her husband left the restaurant. On their way home, their car failed brake and had an accident. The car caught fire and burned to ashes while Zoin and her husband was still inside. A month after the burial of Zoin and her husband Nelson, the problem started. Zena automatically became the owner of the company. She placed her husband as the manager and sacked few workers who stood against her in the company. She took in Anina, Zoin's daughter, to live with her, as she had nowhere else to go, and they maltreated her daily. Anina is only 14 years old. She was treated like a slave. She did all the house chores and they could hardly give her food to eat. They stopped her from going to school and treated her like a worthless trash. Sometimes Anina will have to eat the leftovers from Zena's children as the meal for the whole day. Every day, once everyone has left the house, the children had gone to school and Zena out with her friends. Her husband Chuka has gone to work. Anina will sit in the house and cry, begging God to take her life. One day, Zena came back from visiting her friend and found Anina sleeping in the sitting room. Lying on the couch, she hit her with a stick and broke a glass cup on her head. Anina fainted. Zena thought she was dead, and out of fear that she has killed her sister's only child, she called the ambulance and they rushed Anina to the hospital. After some days, Anina recovered and came back home, and for a week they did not maltreat her. But after 1 week of her coming home from the hospital, they all resumed again to beat her up and make her do all the work at the house. As Anina grew and was close to her 15th year birthday, one day, she was sent by her auntie to go buy something down the street. On her way back, she saw a mad woman carrying food following her. She got scared and started running. The mad woman couldn't run after her. She just stood there looking at her and saying, "Eat food. Eat food," while Anina ran for her life. This happened for a while. Each time she is sent to buy something, the mad woman will be waiting for her on the street carrying food. Anina will find a way to outrun the woman each time, but she never told her auntie what has been happening to her, because she knows nobody cares about her. At the company, Mr. Chuka, Zena's husband, will arrive at work anytime he likes and other people around. One day, he slapped the HR manager for asking him a simple question. The man resigned and sued him to court for assault. Things were getting bad at the company and they were losing clients and credibility. At home, when Zena found out about the lawsuit, she had a private meeting with their former HR manager and paid him off. As she took care of that case, another case would surface and the company was being destroyed daily. This caused Zena and her husband to always fight at home. Until one evening, Zena and the husband Chuka were at the living room. There was a knock at the door. As they opened the door, it was the family lawyer, Mr. Smith. He came and told them that the complaints and the condition of the company means that very soon, they will go bankrupt. But he is happy to bring good news. Zena and Chuka were confused. What good news can you possibly have? The lawyer said, he is here to read Zoin's will. Zena was surprised. She asked, did my sister have a will? The lawyer said yes, she does. When your father was alive, he advised her to write her will with our firm, just in case, and after I read your father's will when he died, Zoin came and updated her own will to include everything your father, Mr. Okoha, left for her. Zena asked, so why has it not been read all this while? It has been over 9 months since my sister died. Mr. Smith replied, I am only asked to read this will a month before Anina turns 15 years old, and if your sister was still alive according to her plans, she would have changed the will to further the date, so please can you call Anina? She needs to be here before I can proceed. Zena went in and asked Anina to wear a good dress and look presentable, for the lawyer not to notice that they have been maltreating her. After a while they came out, and Anina sat next to the lawyer. The lawyer looked at Anina and shook his head in a sign of pity. Then he started reading. The will says, as this will is being read today, it means that I, Zoin, I am no longer in this world, and I leave all my properties to my lovely husband Nelson. But in case Nelson, my husband, can or is not around to take care of my properties, I leave them in my daughter's care, Anina. All that my father has left for me, all his properties, his cars, and the company, including the day-to-day running of the company, I leave to my daughter Anina as she turns 15. The lawyers will assist her to make the right decisions regarding the company, since my father Mr. Okoha has worked with the firm for over 40 years, and trust their capability, so as my daughter turns 15 years old, she will decide if she wants the lawyers to help her in managing the company and all the other assets that belong to me. I believe this letter will be read a month to her 15th birthday to prepare her to take over my assets and properties. With the help of the law firm that my father trusts, they will help her manage the company and all her assets till she turns 21 years old. Anina from the age of 15 years is allowed to receive an allowance from the company every month for her monthly upkeep, also to be supervised by the law firm whom my father has trusted over the years. In the absence of my daughter Anina, I would like all our assets to be transferred to my elder sister if she is still alive and her family, but if they are also not in this world, may the company be liquidated and all the proceeds goes to charity. The lawyer said, this is the will of your sister Zoin. Zena said, there is no problem, we will keep to the will, so in a month's time, when she has celebrated her birthday, you can come around, or we will come down to the firm and do what is necessary. Mr. Smith said, it is all right. He turned to Anina and said, young lady, be careful. And also, be smart, I will see you in a month's time. Then he left. That night Zena and her husband could not sleep. They had to come up with a plan. They decided to kill Anina before she turns 15 years, so that all the properties can automatically become theirs. Now they have a month to come up with ways to kill Anina without suspicion. Few days later, they sent Anina to go and buy something in a far place, and they never gave her transport fare. She had to walk all the way and cross roads till she gets there and back. As Anina was on her way, a car tried to knock her down, but lucky for her, the car missed her. On her way back, she saw the mad woman again. This time, as she ran from the woman, the mad woman started chasing her, asking her to stop, but Anina ran as fast as she could. 2 days later, Anina was home alone. She had a knock at the door. As she opened, she was shocked. It was the mad woman standing in front of the door. The mad woman came in, stretching a plate of food, saying, "Eat food. Eat food." Anina was scared, but she took the food that was packed in a takeaway plate from the mad woman. As she opened it, it smelled nice, well cooked and packed. Anina, who has not eaten in 2 days and was crying for God to take her life, started eating the food in front of the mad woman. She sat there looking at Anina eating the food. After she was done, the mad woman said, "Never eat at home, or else you will die. I will bring food for you every day." Anina looked at the mad woman's face, but she had a lot of things covering her face, so she couldn't see her face. 3 weeks passed. Zena and her husband Chuka have tried on different occasions to kill Anina outside the home so that it won't be traced back to them, but they have always failed. One time, they sent her out to buy something by 11 p.m. at night, praying that she would get robbed or killed, but she has always surprised them and come home safe. They started beating her unnecessarily. They stopped giving her food completely. They have done all kinds of things to her, but all Anina said in her heart is, "I will soon be 15 years old and all this will be over." 1 week to Anina's birthday, Zena and her husband had a great idea to get rid of Anina for good. So Chuka, Zena's husband, went out and rented a car, then called Zena that he is on the right spot. Zena sent Anina to go buy her some medication for flu. On her way, Chuka spotted her and drove to hit her with the car, but the mad woman jumped out from nowhere and pushed Anina away and got knocked down by the car. Then Chuka drove away in fear, and once more, their plans failed. From that day on, Anina never saw the mad woman again. One day to Anina's 15th birthday, it was on a Saturday, Zena cooked Anina's best food and served her by herself. She said to Anina, "Eat up. This is a pre-celebration for your birthday tomorrow." Anina was happy. She said, "Thank you, auntie." Zena said, "Let me go take shower and come down to eat." After 30 minutes, Zena heard shouting and people crying. She ran to the sitting room to see what was going on. She saw her husband holding his stomach. The 2 kids were also holding their stomach, crying in pains. Zena was confused. He asked them what is going on. Chuka managed to say, "Anina has killed us. I don't know what she put in the food." Zena was confused. She shouted for Anina and Anina came. She asked her, "What is going on?" Anina said, she took her food and shared it among her kids and her husband's food as she is not hungry. Zena shouted, "You did what? You evil girl, you have killed me." As she was shouting, the 2 children passed away. Her husband was shouting, "Baby, call the ambulance," but before she could pick up the phone, Chuka also passed away. Zena started shouting and crying. She ran into the kitchen and took a knife to come and stab Anina, who was standing there surprised and confused. Immediately, their front door was kicked in, and the police came in with the mad woman, who had a walking stick to help her walk from the accident that she had, trying to save Anina. The police arrested Zena. The mad woman took off all her disguise. "It is Zoin." Anina rushed and hugged her mother and they cried holding each other. Anina said, "The first time you spoke to me, I heard your voice, but I could not recognize your face. Why did you abandon me?" Zoin said, "All is well now, my daughter. I will explain later." Zena was shocked. It was like she has seen a ghost. She said, "How come you survived?" Zoin said, "As the car failed brake that night, we ran into a big tree. Nelson's door was jammed. I managed to open my door and climb out before the explosion, and the car burned to ashes while I watched my husband die, screaming. I still hear his voice in my head sometimes. I was sent to the hospital, and I was there for 3 months. By the time I came out, I came to visit you and I heard you and your husband celebrating how you guys masterminded our death by telling someone to tamper with our brakes while we sat to discuss with you inside the restaurant. And how all that I have now belong to you. For a while I lost my mind that my only sister would do such a thing to me because of money. I have been coming around here every day watching and seeing how you treat my daughter Anina. It was easy to disguise as a mad person. I know by the time my will is read, you guys will look for a way to get rid of Anina, and that was exactly what you did. I had to tell Anina to stop eating any food from this house, because I was sure you would try to kill her, or even poison her. Shame on you. Zena said, but we discovered 2 bodies from the car burn. Zoin said, while we were leaving the restaurant, a waiter that has finished her shift asked us for a lift. She also burnt in the car. It was her body you saw and thought it was mine. But due to your envy and wickedness, today you have used your own hand to poison your whole family. I hope you are happy now. Zena was arrested and locked up for life. Zoin returned to her father's company and brought the business back to its original state. Story ends. Moral of this story. In life, strive to be important, place value on yourself. People will only value you according to the value you have placed on yourself. And also, envy is a killer. Once you have dipped your hands into it, it is difficult to come out. I remain Uncle Sam. Stay safe.